Hi everyone, welcome to this session of what I call energy flow yoga. And this yoga class is designed to support you in your meditative practice. When we're speaking about yoga, we're also speaking about non-duality because yoga itself is a non-dual system, which a lot of people, especially in our modern culture, don't realize, where normally our focus is on the posture as though the stretch is what yoga is. But of course, if you've looked into yoga even a little bit, you'll realize that the first limb of yoga is posture, not even necessarily stretch. Often it's referring to sitting in meditative posture. And the other 7 limbs are all pointing to deeper states, both within our energy, our psychology, referring to the breath, and ultimately to consciousness. And so this practice is really designed around incorporating the asana, which we will be doing, which will be various postures and flows, with the most important aspect of the practice, which is concentration, awareness, non-resistance, just like in the meditative practice. So we can learn to actually go into our yoga postures, flows, whatever it is we're doing, using the same principle. And so that is the most important part of the practice. You could kind of say the stretch is secondary. So for this session, we're going to go into a format which I often use, starting with breath work, which in yoga is called pranayama. And then we'll be moving into body stretches or holds, normally from a yin perspective. So yin stretches and also yin flows, I call them, that build up prana in the body. So prana actually refers to life force energy. And if you've heard the word Qi, then it's the same thing, except that would be the word used more in the Chinese system. And so as we're working that, the mindfulness, concentration, feeling are a priority, and then the stretch is just something that's going to happen. So we'll lie down, we'll begin lying on our backs. So let's just take a moment and find your mat. I'm going to be sitting while I give you the instructions. When I teach, what I'm trying to do is teach clearly enough where you don't have to open your eyes very often, and that way your attention is focused inwards on feeling. So I'll give you another moment here to just find the mat, lying down in Shavasana posture. You can lie down with your hands facing the ceiling, preferably with an open heart posture, but if that's not good for your shoulders, then just lie down with whatever position works best for your body. And in the case of pranayama that we're talking about, on a deep level of practice, pranayama sometimes is referred to only as the very natural breath that occurs when you're in deep meditation. But for the sake of these practices, pranayama will refer to any way of working with your breath. So we'll be manipulating the breath first, and then we'll eventually be going into the natural breath. So as you're lying there, the first thing you want to do is notice your entire body and just feel into what's going on right now from head to toe. Kind of taking in information, not labeling anything. So if there's tension, you can acknowledge that. If you feel good, maybe there's something like anxiety, you can acknowledge that. And these things, these feelings, these things that we're noticing inside the body and the mind and the emotional system are part of our practice. And so we'll do our very best to just allow them to be there as we go through. So let's begin by noticing the breath rising and falling at the navel. You're just going to notice the belly expanding and contracting like a wave. And just allow your attention to notice that as you breathe, there's an expansion in the belly. And as you exhale, there's a release in the belly going back down. And we'll just stay there for a couple breaths before we begin to deepen it. So as you're feeling into your breath now, begin to deepen it towards your collarbone. So you're going to inhale from the belly. Once the belly feels full, you're filling up the sternum and then the upper chest right to the collarbone. So when you're into a full exaggerated breath, your inhale fills like a vessel from the bottom to the top, and the collarbone being the top of the glass. And then we're going to exhale and release from the collarbone all the way back down until you get to the lower belly. So this is called diaphragmatic breathing. And one of the main areas we want to hone in on is the diaphragm itself moving as you inhale and exhale. Okay, so you're going to feel that underneath your rib cage. So for this first breath, think about it more as you're not trying to sink in, you're trying to unlock the physical breath structure. by using a little bit of strength here on the breath. And you'll feel the ribs opening. You'll probably notice where you may be holding some chronic tensions. And let's just take a couple more of those, helping us get into the body to prepare for practice. Something that can be helpful while you're doing this and throughout the practice is to relax all your face muscles. So relax your jaw, relax your forehead and your eyes, your mouth. Just let everything go. And try to feel more into a surrendered state. And then we'll go into the second breath. So we've started to get into the body. The second breath is focused much more on activating the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is part of the goal of this practice, because when we're in parasympathetic, everything's working right and we're in a relaxed state. So to help augment that, I'm going to focus on a prolonged exhale. So let's begin. Still doing your diaphragmatic breathing, we'll start with the count of 3, 3, 6. So the first number is your inhale. You're going to inhale to the count of 3, filling up. And you don't have to fill it to the point where you feel strained. And once you fill up, you're going to hold your breath for 3 and let everything relax. So when you're holding the breath, don't try to force anything, just let it settle. And then exhale to the long count of 6 out the nose. So you're inhaling 3, holding for 3, and exhaling for 6. And I know there's many of us at every level of practice here. So some of you might right away move up to 4, 4, 8, or 5, 5, 10 if you find that your natural breath control is much deeper. But the key here is don't move up by straining. You would only add a number if it feels like that's softening into your body and you're not having to force it. So inhaling, first number, holding the second number, and the exhale equals the inhale hold. So let's say you eventually moved up to 6, 6, 12, then you would always have the exhale equaling the inhale hold. And this is a great breath to do whenever you need it. Even during the day, you can take a couple minutes and do this, and it will help kind of reset your system. We'll just stay here for another minute or so. Noticing where your attention is. So one of the other key points of the practice that we're doing and about to go into is we want to find the tension. So it's a little different than what we're used to, which is trying to get away from the tension normally. In this type of practice, you're going to allow yourself to sink into the tension and be present with it as you find it. So let's finish one more of those complete breaths, whatever number you're at, and then you're going to let it go. And once you let it go, simply notice the body from head to toe to fingertip. And you will already notice that you're a little bit more in your body, most likely even after doing this for about 5 minutes or so. So now as we move into the stretches, we're going to do this practice mostly on a lower body sequence. We're going to be working the hips and the legs and the spinal column, and then we'll be doing another practice after this that will focus more on the upper body. So you're lying down, you're just going to turn over I'm going to turn over and we're going to bend the knees. We'll have the feet flat. I'm going to have the palms down by my side. So we're going to work into what's called spinal breathing. So I've got the shoulder blades underneath me. Now notice where your hip bones are, and you want to have your knees the same distance apart and your heels. So that creates a straight line of energy. Another big aspect of this particular practice is we're going to build up a lot of energy and prana circulating in the body. So I've got the palms down, shoulder blades underneath me. I'm going to pull my chin into my throat slightly so the back of my neck is open. And then the last thing is to tuck your tailbone all the way between your legs until there's no arch in your back. And you're going to see that's already a fairly deep internal stretch on the back of your abdominal cavity. So this position here is what it feels like when you complete your exhale. chin tucked, tailbone tucked, palms and shoulder blades down. And there's two parts to this breath. So the first part is just the spine. As I inhale, come into a deep arch my spine, pull the breath all the way to the upper chest and squeeze your shoulder blades together. And as you exhale, tuck your chin and tailbone, pull the diaphragm up and squeeze the breath out of your body. Okay, so we're going to inhale, expand and arch. Exhale, release, tuck the chin and tailbone. Right now you're still working the breath. That means we're not really concerned with the natural breath yet. We'll be doing that more in the holds. So here you're deepening the breath and utilizing the breath to move your spinal column. We're just going to do a couple of these and then we'll be adding the upper body to it. Make sure I'm not going to get hooked on the mic. So on your next inhale, so you've exhaled, tucked everything in. On your inhale, I'm going to start to float the arms up like this. Now, as I do, I want to splay the fingers wide, rotate the palms outwards, and then reach all the way up into a full arch of my spine like that. This cord is kind of pulling the shirt up. And then I'm going to exhale. As the exhale happens, the palms are down. And notice that as I exhale further and further down, I tuck the chin and tailbone and I flatten everything out and press the palms into the floor. And then you release, relax, inhale, receive the breath. Expand, open the ribs, rotate the palms out, exhale, palms are facing the floor, coming down. Notice how deep of an elongation that is to your spine as you tuck the chin and tailbone and bring the arms down. It's actually one of the deepest spinal stretches because you really can't get any further on elongation, unlike a forward fold when you're bent. When I do this, and I draw the chin in and pull the tailbone through, the whole spine is lengthened and being pulled up and down, so you're decompressing the discs. Let's work that for one more. Exhale, tucking, and then just relax everything now. And simply notice your spine. So throughout the practice, we'll be checking in and just noticing what's going on. Feel your body and be aware of any sensation of internal energy, which normally is going to feel like flow, expansion, tingling in the body, sometimes heat. We're going to go through a full yin stretch for each hip now. So from this position, I'm going to take my left knee and pull it to my chest. And I'll explain one thing here on yin stretching. So the more you let go, the more you're in a yin stretch. So when I'm in a true yin stretch, I'm not flexing the target muscle. I'm allowing it, to expand and release. So what that looks like is I would take my left hand and wrap it around the outside or the inside of my knee, and I'm going to pull the leg open to the left side as far out as I can. And then just let everything settle. And then your right leg is just going to hang over to the right side on its own. I want my chin tucked in a little bit. And you don't have to do anything here. You can keep the arm down by your side, or maybe even better would be bring the arm out at 90 degrees. And it creates a counterweight for the left leg. And now my job is to simply focus my attention on the area that's being stretched. So my awareness is on the left groin and on the breath at the same time. And this is the most important component of the practice, is maintain the awareness focus. And whenever you notice that you're back in your mind, which will happen, find your breath and find the body part. So my attention is over here on the left groin, and what I'm attempting to do is simply be present with it and not resist anything that's occurring, just like you would do when you're meditating. You're witnessing it and allowing it to naturally unfold. Through the weight of your arm, you don't even have to pull the leg down. And after about 45 seconds or so, the tendons will start stretching. So in a yin stretch, pardon me, you're actually opening up the connective tissue, not just the muscles. So we're going to draw the left knee in now, inhale, and just feel that stretch that just took place in the groin. Exhale, pull the left knee to your chest, and then sit your left ankle on your right knee, and we're going to get ready to go into the hip opener. So I'll give you two options here. The first one is slightly more intense than the second. Your left hand is going to slide between your legs and grab the back of your right knee. Your right hand meets it. You allow the right knee to hang loosely, and then you pull the right knee towards you until you hit a level that you think is a maximum of 95%. So again, you're not forcing any stretches. This is often a misconception in modern yoga, where it becomes really more like a competition against yourself or other people. You want to listen to your body. So if I'm at about 95%, that means there's a little bit of room to give, and that means the muscle's not locked. Now my attention goes to my left glute, and immediately I find my breath, and I begin to allow the breath to really take on a natural rhythm, which will be a little deeper than when you started. So you're both aware of the natural breath coming and going, and you're aware of the left hip. Now the alternative, if this was too much for you, is to keep your right foot down, reach up and grab your left leg in the same position, like this, and just pull the leg towards you. So it's almost the same stretch, not quite as intense. And we'll be here for a few more breaths. Something else that's helpful is to keep the chin tucked into the throat. And that's always lengthening your neck and spine. So remember that you're not trying to change anything, you're simply allowing the awareness to sink into the area that's being stretched. And over time, that awareness is what will do all the work for you. As you know, you can't force yourself to relax, and you can't force yourself to release tension. You can try with the thinking mind, and normally all it does is the opposite, which is create more tension. These stretches can easily be held for 5 minutes if you want to do this on your own, and that's typical in a yin practice. And then from here, I'm going to allow the right foot to come down, and I'll bring my arms out, palms up in T posture. I'm going to wrap the left leg around the right leg, and then hook the ankles if you can, and if you can't, that's fine. When I'm twisting, I want to do it on the exhale, so I'm going to take a deep breath in, and then exhale, drop your legs over to the right as you turn your head to the left. And just let everything again settle, surrender to gravity. In this position now, so obviously you're opening the outside of your hip, but you're also opening up your chest and your sternum, especially the chest on the left side. So if you notice your left shoulder, one little thing you could add here is to slightly contract your left shoulder blade towards your spine, opening your chest a little further. And your head is turned away from the legs. If this gets a little intense on your hips, you would place a pillow under the outside of your legs, supporting you so that you're not going too far over. Your awareness is directed to the outside of the hip and also the left rib cage or the left shoulder, so this whole general area. Always check in, make sure you're relaxing your face muscles, they're not clenching again. So remember, what you're doing is you're meditating while you stretch. And truthfully, that's much more clear definition of yoga, as yoga means to bring together or coalesce. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in another class. From here, we inhale center, unwind the legs, and then we'll just release them and give the hips a break there for a second. You're going to place the hands down over the hip bones. I'm going to take a breath into the hip bones and exhale down and out my legs like a wave. Okay, so just breathe where you feel the hip bones, and then follow your attention down your legs and out as you exhale. This is called sweeping. Sometimes it's called flushing. There's different names for these techniques. And they're all based on your ability to concentrate. The more that you can concentrate, the more you can have an effect. And notice how different the hip you just worked on feels to the side you haven't. And then from here, we're going to bend the knees, feet flat. We'll begin by opening the right groin. Okay, so pull your right knee to center, and then wrap your hand around the inside, the outside, or another alternative is to bring your arm up underneath the leg like that. So it's really up to you. They're all going to do something quite similar. I'm going to draw the leg out to the right side, and then I allow the left leg to just flop over and hang, and then bring your left arm 90 degrees, palm up, tuck your chin, and surrender into the floor, surrender to gravity, and begin to be aware of both the right groin and your breath. And notice what is a deep but smooth breath. So when I'm not controlling it now, you'll notice that your breath is slowly taking on a deeper rhythm without having to do anything. And you may also notice that now and again you require a deep breath. So listen to that. If all of a sudden your body wants to take an exaggerated deep breath, maybe you're aware of some tension, then go with that. And you'll see that little by little, the longer you hold these, the more that the area opens. So in a future class, we'll perhaps explore doing the full 5-minute holds. We're going to bring the right knee back to center now. And then take your right knee, just bring it into your chest for a sec, and take a breath. And then we'll sit the right ankle on the left knee. And as you did on the other side, you'll thread through. Put the right arm between your legs, grab the back of your left knee, left hand meets it, relax the left knee, tuck your chin and pull the knee towards you until you hit a maximum of 95%. And then hold steady and begin to sink your attention and breath into your right glute. And the alternative is the same. If this gets too much, you have your right foot down and you're carrying your left leg towards you. I didn't emphasize this on the other side, but make sure that your knee, the one that you're grabbing, is completely relaxed, so you're not tensing up. If you were to flex your left knee even a little bit, notice how that starts locking up your hips. So just keep that leg hanging loosely, keeping the chin tucked in. You could also try drawing the shoulder blades a little bit towards the floor, and that will help open up the chest. When I'm practicing, my eyes are almost always closed because then I can feel much more than when they're open. And notice that when the eyes are open, how that might take your attention away from your body. And then from here, the left foot is going to come down. And then I'm going to bring the arms out, 90 degrees, palm up or down, if that's better for you. Wrap the leg over, the right leg over the left. Take a deep breath in, and then drop over on the exhale, just allowing it to release as you go over. Your head's going to turn away from the legs. And you want to keep your right shoulder on the mat. So if you were to go too far over, you might see that the right shoulder is pulling up. Try to use this right shoulder as a gauge. If it's on the mat, I'll allow myself to go over, and then what will happen is you'll not just feel the hip opening, you'll feel the stretch move up to here. And this is where you can also slightly squeeze your right shoulder blade inwards if you prefer. A couple more breaths here. Being aware of the feeling in the stretch and the breath itself. And then inhaling, next inhale, we'll bring the knees back up to center. Unwind the legs. And just let your legs go here. Bring the arms down. feel into your entire body lying here, from head to toe. What do you notice different in your body now? After having done, I believe we're probably around 25 minutes. So 25 minutes goes pretty quick when you're mindful. And notice how you can feel your body probably quite a bit more than when you started. And the most important thing to remember here is that that feeling of embodiment is not coming really from the stretches, it's coming from your awareness that you've been bringing and cultivating into the body. And the effect of that is it opens up all the nadis, which are another word for meridians in the system, and you'll be able to feel that. Notice any areas that you can't feel yet, and that might give you an indicator where the energy is not flowing as strongly in the body. So we're just going to do a little scan here for the next couple of minutes before we finish up. So there's many forms of scanning, and if you've done yoga nidra, I highly recommend it. It often involves body scan, and then the deeper ones will go into some of the energy rhythms in the body, which we'll explore over time. So let's just do a generalized scan with our breath. First thing I'll do is notice my right hip and the right hip joint, and you're going to take a deep breath into your right hip, and then exhale slowly down and out your right leg. Noticing all the sensations, and again, same thing. And as you do that, pay attention to what are the sensations. It's quite interesting if you've never felt energy before, because it's not as hard as you think. Same thing on the left hip. Bring your attention over, and we'll be doing 2 breaths into the left hip. Breathing into the hip socket, exhaling down as though it all just flushes down and out your foot on the left side. Finishing the breath you're on. Now notice both of your legs. Let the breath just breathe itself now. And just simply notice your hips and your legs. And what do you feel? And do both legs feel equal, or can you feel the circulation more on one side, which is more common? As the energy circulates in our body, often not in balance. Normally one side will have more energy, and one side not quite as much, just like one side of the body is often weaker and one side is tighter. Okay, now take 1 or 2 hands and place it over your navel and bring all of your awareness to the belly button. The belly button is considered the life force center of the whole body. And this is another way that we learn to ground our energy, is by focusing at the belly. So as you inhale, using your imagination, imagine a little ball of energy expanding, maybe a little sun. And as you exhale, it just settles there. And again, as you inhale, even more energy comes to the navel. And we'll do this a couple times. Always noticing when the mind tries to wander. If it does, gently come back to what you're doing or what you're not doing. So finishing one more breath, let that go, and we'll get ready to close out the practice, which in this style that I'm teaching, we always do that in sitting. So if you can, just roll over into fetal posture on one side. And then we'll make our way back up to sitting. If this was a longer practice, then often we would sit in Shavasana for a longer period of time, just allowing the integration factor. But after doing all that, you probably will notice that sitting is a little bit easier than when you began. So try to find a good stacked posture. The sit bones are in place. There's not an exaggerated forward or rear arch in the lower back. Shoulders are up and over, brought into place. The chin is tucked in gently, looking forward. And just feel into this strong posture for a moment. Once again, closing the eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths in and deep breaths out, letting it go. And then we're going to finish with a closing movement. I'm going to bring my arms out to the side. And we'll do this 3 times. Inhaling up, imagine you're gathering energy between your arms. And exhale down, sweep it through both your body and the energy field around the body. And if you want to bring in a visualization, you could visualize the energy or a color, or just try to be in the feeling center. The key, as always, is to be present. And when you're present, then something magical can happen. That normally doesn't happen when we're stuck in our mind. And the next time you come up, the palms come together when you're ready. And then you'll come down into prayer posture in front of the chest. We always close focused at the heart, taking a moment here, noticing your heart. Maybe there's an intention or prayer. And then we'll close, taking a bow. Namaste. Thank you.